He was complaining, I said, yeah, like, they checked it out. They, you know, they told us, they said, something, the guy, they said, I'll just tell you.
Yeah, it's my bill.
Man, I went to Hopewell County.
He said,
You know, everybody.
he said, you want
78. 78.
So, you know, it's, that's the route.
You know, you say that you want to, now it's 68, how you like it?
Yeah, a couple more thing shots to deal with the pain. Did all the lab stuff, and then they.
I can't hear that.
There's anybody on my phone, oh, that's 2 hours.
$30. He said,
We don't know where to stay.
this guy, let's do a stress test. He said, you'll.
We got a couple more. My
My
friend banned it at 24 times.
He said, it's something we can fix, we're gonna fix it. Now.
Yeah, I got more points.
And according to her, I'm 100% 20 or so.
And so the doctor told us that
That's why I'm buying it.
had already tried to grow them.
I always try to
It's over.
Yeah, that's never safe.
So they fixed that, and they had them, another one that was 75%.
You don't have any conversation.
I'm going to
You live in Multiplex, yeah.
You got 5 people.
I'm glad you're there to catch that. That's scary stuff. Well, that's what, like, so he said, I think I told the muscle. I think we can family history. If y'all here, I had a phone call on the way in. I don't remember the lady's name. Lady had a tree fell over her house.
And there's a couple schemes thing.
Apparently she's.
We took care of.
She did some fines. I was going to call me about it. I don't know what I could do. The problem was so much. What's happened to her is what she said.
We have to value on
No problem.
would you collect?
85%.
We want me to do something to fix it. I'll ask some questions.
Last year's value.
She can't take that.
85% of last year's value. But you got it fixed. I've been through this.
What do you do? I thought we were moving. She didn't know.
That's all, that's a good answer. The 3 or 4, either one.
What was requesting? Yes.
Who is the guy that's
They
sending
told
us
me,
the
they told the
email
numbers that she got.
about the noise or? Yeah, that lives in Clark County.
But now, you
So
know.
that was basically toxic.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it.
But I don't know, names of things, the county line is like
She gave me.
halfway through that neighborhood, I'm not entirely
Isn't that the road that the Escos used to live on,
I've seen him like.
that backs up to Brian Kemp's home?
Oh, no, he ain't that. No, this one is also really soon.
On them, they were real slow.
Like heading towards
And then
Clark
they
County,
turned up and that.
Yeah.
and out of, Hall, we pass, it's right, it's the one right before Hard Pass, it's right. Tim Lane, right, goes into Tim Lane, so.
Yeah.
Come on,
Tax people sit with the back.
Back to the wall, right? Places in Clark County.
Yeah, his road, I think, is the one right before Tim Lane.
Okay.
So that's Clark County, and then that Fox Trail.
I feel like it's set up here.
Yeah.
Turns into Madison. Keep your friends close.
When you turn on Tim Lane, you don't know, it turns out to Fox Trail.
Yeah.
I want to say there's like 2 houses on that road that are not maybe. And I don't know, I'll give me if I married her, there's like 4.
Yeah, his email said he was not.
You were
That's the always in Madison County, is that one's compliant? Yeah.
probably the noise.
We have, it's not, it's almost.
All right, just for the record, public meeting, thank you for Madison County Board of Commissioners, public meeting, August 13th, 2024, 4 p.m. This is a budget work session. I don't see anyone from the public here for any statements or remarks, so we will go straight into discussing the 2025 budget, and we will first start with the tax commissioner, Mr. Lamar Dalton, who is elected.
Well, I do have to discuss the 2025 budget listed. I thought Susan could kind of go over.
Oh,
They
sure.
had a 5-year history and
Yeah,
I think
give us
she's
a
going to
quick-
share some projected totals of revenues and expenditures to kind of give the board an idea of what we're looking at and what we're looking at as a rollback before we get started.
Go ahead,
And
Jim.
then Lamar can jump in.
Yeah.
Anytime you like.
I agree, we got all 100% right now.
So, it's, I want you guys to know, we have not done capital outlay yet, so, but where we're at right now, we're looking at our total overall budget, minusing those revenues and expenses that will offset. We're looking to be somewhere extremely close to where we were last year, so it'll be $25,176,111 is kind of the number that we're working with right now. Again, we have not worked on capital outlay, we gotta tie that down. And hopefully, by the end of this week, I'm hoping we'll have those numbers to throw into this. But that looks like that's kind of the overall number. So we're really close, because last year's was $25,200,49. So, so we're really close to where we were.
So what you say you're looking at right now?
$25,176,111. So with our millage, with our 5-year history that we worked up, I had told Todd that basically we worked the numbers on this form back to the PT 32-1 that Melanie and Lamar supplied to us. And the overall, we're looking at a 1.92% increase. So that's another, it's an additional $230,000 that we bring in tax revenue, what we're projecting. It puts, I mean, it's basically rolling that millage back to, we're gonna be at zero.
So I'm at
We're not
zero.
bringing, only thing we're bringing in extra is just the value.
Stephen, just for the record though, because the journal's not here, they normally are. If we leave the millage rate, because they're gonna watch the video and I know they're gonna make a story about it, I'm sure. If we do nothing and leave the millage rate alone, we will be bringing in what dollar amount? I think you had that.
The total amount, is that what you're asking?
Yes.
$12,155,51.
No, if we didn't do a rollback.
If we didn't do any rollback,
If we left
Just left it alone.
same.
I don't know if I brought that sheet with me. It really, if we left it alone, let me think where we were at. It really did not make that big of a difference. I think it was
Well, the rollback is
point,
0.6193,
yeah,
and that's roughly $750,000.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
So you've been looking at $1 million increase. in
Increase, yeah.
If
We don't do anything,
If we didn't do anything, if we didn't,
we'll bring in $1 million more than we brought in last year. if we
yeah,
do
you're
nothing.
right.
Just because of the increases in property values.
Yeah,
Well, and the added values, the
And
new
the-
houses on
and
the
the new-
market,
and
it
the
wasn't
new-
there prior
yeah.
to.
that's correct.
So the goal is the numbers that we've been working with, from Susan and Melanie and, Lamar and Christina is, are we gonna be comfortable doing a millage rate rollback of 0.61, I think what you
Yeah.
said?
Yeah,
And are we going to be able to afford to go that far back? As of today, I'll have to look back and see where we come in at, because right now, I think we're at
777.
Yeah, we're
977.
977.
So we'll be at 91.
Well, yeah, 9.158,
Yeah. All right.
if we roll it back.
All right, anything else?
I'm good if you guys are good.
All right, Lamar.
Probably you keep it covered now.
I don't know that I'm gonna back Robbie. Fellas, I'm good. I have always tried to roll as much back to the county as I could every year anyway, okay? So with the cuts that y'all have made right here, the collection services, when I first took off, Louise had $36,000 in there, okay? I couldn't figure out what it was there for, anything like that. And a lot of people then were of the opinion if you had it, you spend it, first one thing another, but I cut it down to $7,000, and I held it there ever since. So I'm good on everything. I would say maybe on my office supplies, that's, and the equipment, because you never know when you might have to update. And I'd come to y'all if it was something from the state anyway mandated. So, like I said, I'm good. I think it was $4,900 different from what I submitted and what y'all come up with. So I don't have any problem with it. I have one employee who's going to a 40-week school next year, but I can drop that down out of collection services if I had to. So I'm good.
Is that already in here for 40 weeks?
It's not in there because it just came up, and I told her, it's Melanie, and I told her she could do it. But I'm covered on it. Like I said, I can drop down from that collection services was always a catch-all. If I needed filing fee money, or if I needed postage money, or print and binding money, I kept that right there to drop it down if I needed it. So that's basically what I'll do with hers.
Did they give you an idea what that school is going to cost?
It's going to be about $1,200, time to feed the lodging and the course.
Okay. All right.
Well, that's what I say, there's plenty of meat right there. I can't remember what I rolled back last year, but it's been pretty decent over the last 7-8 years, so, I mean, I'm good. I don't have a
Your
problem.
staffing level good,
Hmm?
your level of staff.
Yeah, I will never need another 50% employee. That fifth chair down there is just where I go and take property bills when it gets busy. We're good. Everybody's trained up. I have one employee who will advance to bottom of the tax clerk 3, but everybody else is pretty much topped out and just looking at cost of living from here on out. So we're in pretty good shape there. We are 99+% collected right now. Almost $550,000 ahead of where we were this time last year. We have very little prior year stuff coming in. It's all 23 stuff now. I think on all 4 strata, mobile homes, real property, personal property, and timber, we are down to somewhere around 600 total bills for about $380,000. A lot of that'll clear up during the business cycle. So we're in pretty good shape. So
Lamar, just for the record, it don't have to be an exact number, but just to clear things up, that'll never be in the rumor mill. How many properties do y'all have to auction off this year?
Every year, I start out with last year was different. And that's one reason I didn't go through with the GTAX thing last year. For some reason or the other, I showed up January 1st, almost 2,000 delinquent parcels. I like to die. So we just started jumping on those. That was 22. This year, it was about normal, about 900 to 1,200 parcels delinquent. Okay, that's just on real property and personal property. So I had 3 tax sales. First tax sale was 260 some odd parcels, and I didn't sell any. The second one, I sold 2 parcels. It was about 230. The third one was all current year stuff. 2023 stuff, had 120 something of them, and I sold one of those. Everybody else came in and made arrangements to pay, or paid in full. And that's one reason we $550,000 ahead of where we were this time last year.
So if my math serves me correctly, you sold 3 homes.
4 total. I sold 4 total.
In 3 years.
I sold 1 last year, so that's 5 in 2 years. I didn't sell any the year before.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
Just a question for information.
Yeah.
More of that, nothing to do with budget. just
Okay.
Information. Are you having issues with taxpayers coming in with, I didn't get my notice, the postal service?
All the time. And here's the thing. If it's a new owner, and I always let Todd know when I'm doing it. If it's a new owner, mid-year sale, something like that, no matter how smart your counselors are, your lawyers are, whatever, nobody gets proration right. Nobody knows what to do. Now, this GTAX system gives me a new owner's list anytime I want to pull it up, so I can send them a bill. So if a new owner comes in and says he didn't get a bill, I'll waive interest and penalty, take it back to original bill. Still gonna have that 665, I bet you, probably 100 of them are new owners who still don't know they had a tax bill last year. This happens. Mail is bad, but the biggest problem we have is we track our return mail. We keep it on a spreadsheet. So before I ever try to prosecute anybody, we look and see if maybe they didn't get the mail, if it come back undelivered, first one thing another, and you still get those arguments.
Yeah.
But on a he said, she said, I win every time.
Lamar, while you're standing there and we got Robin, I'm gonna say this every time we have a budget meeting, because there's 3 of you, Robin, Lamar, and Shelley. Our auditor sent a letter back, and Susan's familiar with this. The 2023 audit came back with the only discrepancy in that audit was a .0024 from our budgeted number of about $23 million.
Right.
And in that letter, it was stated, for the recommendation from the auditor was to tell each department head how good a job they done with their budget, that he had never seen a .0024 deficit from what, I say deficit, that might be the wrong word, discrepancy in an audit. It's never been that close ever. Most people are 3 and 4% off, if not 10 and 20% off.
That's right.
And we was a .0024. And they just wanted me to tell all department heads, great job.
As an elected official, I still consider myself a county employee because I work my way up, you know. So I remember back, I'm not going to say the bad old days, but I can remember when people in this courthouse was trying to raise families on $7, $8 an hour, you know. And it just always made me think, if I could turn as much in at the end of the year as I could, it kept them from spending it for every year. And I know that's a bad way to think about things, but that's the way I did it. But I just, I've never been one to spend it just because I had it. I mean, my own money I do.
Well,
I don't.
You mean your own money, your wife did?
No, I spend mine. Wife don't smoke cigars, dude.
There's one thing also to be noted on what you do, and that is the fact that there's a percentage that you could claim as your personal income that you do not. That other counties do.
Yeah.
Certain tax commissioners can make this a 6-figure, almost close to a 7-figure payroll.
Well, back in the
How to
day,
do that.
I had to do that so I could ask for a raise from the ladies and not have pressure put on me, right? But I mean, I do it now like with the GTAX. That's a $30,000 investment that the county invested in me, and it's gonna be a good one, because I can print reports now that Harris never would give us. When we have an issue, and we did have an issue, my collection rate would be a little bit better now, but there was about a 4-week lapse in getting online payments back up. And I didn't know it, and I sent out 300 delinquent notices. People was trying to pay online, and they couldn't, you know. So that'll catch us up a little bit there too. But it ain't a lot of money, but it covered that G-Tax, you know, over the years, so that's a good thing.
All right, appreciate it, sir.
No problem.
Anybody have, Frank, do you have any questions? No. Take it back. Yes, sir, Robin Baker.
Hello. I'm good. I'm good with the recommended from the administration.
All right.
There's very few things that you cut, and we can make it with what we're looking at.
All right.
It's on the job list and you're one person short.
Actually, I've already filled it. I feel that he's in the office now.
We're at staff.
Staffing levels where you need to be.
Yes.
Since I've been here, I feel like you probably got one of the best staffs that you've had in your office. It's finally full. You know, we had to add a couple. We picked the right couple, I think.
Right. And the reason we had that vacancy recently was because Diego, who was in that position, moved over to code enforcement. So I left that one vacant and we filled it.
Yeah, he just done a lateral to fill one, open the other up. But, all right, Robin, is there anything that you would like to say, because the newspaper's not here, that you want people to know about this year's tax bill?
Well, I think we have about 400 appeals. We'll be starting those in DOE next week. We should complete them. I think they're scheduled for 6 days straight, and those 6 days should pretty much take care of all the appeals, except any reschedules. If we get a lot of reschedules, it'll go probably into September, but we should be good on appeals. That's where we're at right now.
So out of, how many tax bills do you mail out each year?
Well, notices we mailed out about 17,000.
17,000, you got 400 appeals.
Mm-hmm.
And out of those 400 appeals, is one of them a multi-appeal?
We have a couple.
What would those numbers be?
It wasn't as bad this year because one company appealed over 100 last year.
Yeah.
This year, since they got a hold on those last year, a 3-year 2 million IC hold, they didn't appeal those this year. They just appealed anything they had acquired new or that they had missed last year. So it's like, I think we have about 24 of them down this year.
Okay. All right. And the reason I say that is because, again, I'm knowing that Master Journal will be putting an article together. I just want people to understand that we have 17,000 tax bills goes out. We have 400 appeals, and a lot of times out of the 400 appeals, some of them are one person appealing 100 parcels. So it's not everybody's appealing their tax bill. We don't want to put out the misconception of everybody's.
And we did have the Department of Revenue in the office yesterday for our 3-year review, and everything went well with that. The ladies told us that we passed our review for the 3-year review. Generally, they tell us we'll get a narrative on it, but in 15 years, I haven't received one. So we may not get a narrative, but everything's good with it. All the policies, procedures from the office are good. The Board of Assessors, everything's good with them. We're not missing anything. So we were good on our review.
Are we still looking for people to sit on the Board of Assessors? Is that right?
No, Board of Equalization.
Board of Equalization.
Well, we are. Now,
Yeah.
the grand jury has to appoint them, but,
We have to submit the names of.
well, the clerk of courts does.
Well, we have to submit the names to clerk of court.
If we know anyone who's interested in it, right?
Gotcha.
Because no one wants to serve on the Board of Equalization.
All right.
That's why we have the same Board of Equalization for the past, 15 years.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Who are the people on it now?
I'm sorry.
Who are the people on that board now?
Buddy Fields, Marion Baker, Jane Lackey, Mary Hunt, and
Smith.
J.D. Smith.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, gentlemen? Thank you for the
Okay.
job with last year's budget.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you. See how easy those went? Just schedule. All right. Recreation Department, Miss Shelley Farm. First off, Shelley, I want to tell you, I appreciate the time you spent with Susan. I know y'all spent, probably upwards, I think one day was 6 or 7 hours. And the first time was, 3 or 4, 5 hours, and there's been several in-betweens. Trying to get this budget in order, and honestly, it's not completely, I'm saying this on your behalf, it's not completely out of whack because of what all we got going on. It's just a lot. We just have a lot.
There is a lot.
This is probably the most complicated budget
It's all these little pieces.
that this board would have to deal with, strictly, mainly because the only other one that would be in comparison would be the sheriff's department, but luckily they do most of their stuff in-house. So, you have the latest update, right?
Yes, I do.
So I've got some questions, and I'm sure the board might have some. And
Just the latest.
Yes, that's page 1. So,
do they have this copy?
Our board, yes.
Okay.
yes, they do have.
Okay, and this is basically just a summary sheet. This is the easiest, we felt like this is gonna be the easiest way to look at it. It shows your administrative, expenses and operational costs, and then it shows the program expenses and operational costs. It shows you where you're at, pro and cons.
24 actual represents what percentage of the year?
What is it?
What percent of the year?
End of June. End of June. So January through June, we're at 6 months.
Or 50%?
Yeah. And Shelley knew this, but because of last year's budget, when we went through it and how we all discussed, we wanted to be able to break things down so we could look at things differently than how we were. So, in the prior years, all of the programming fees went into one line. So, that's why you got the updated sheet here to the best that we could, because we ended up starting to break those out sometime around September, October last year. And so it was kind of hard to kind of go back and pull to separate them, because prior to my coming, everything was, when it was entered, it just said rec desk. Didn't say what it was. So it was really hard for us to know which ones. That's why we went back. So one line, like for summer camp line, when you look at that, it has a 0 in it. I have no idea, because in our books, we didn't break it down that way. If now it's being broke down, we will be able to track it much differently moving forward.
Good, thank you. Well, that's extra work, thank you.
The more description, the better when it comes to this.
Well, we're all trying to work together to help Shelley to be able to track.
The thing that made it confusing to me, and I look at things the way I look at it, a lot of components of the rec budget are covered in fees. So jerseys, balls, whatever for softball, that's all going to be covered by fees. And when we clutter up the budget with that, it really makes that very confusing. So all those things that are going to be paid just by fees, in my way, it just makes, it gets down to what the operation of the rec department is.
And that's how this is presented. They did one just with administrative fees, one just operational fees, and then all programming, what it costs for all programming.
Good.
That really helps break it out.
Shelley, you have these two?
I do.
Okay, cool. And I guess if you want to, let's just start on the administrative operation.
Okay. Yeah, where would you like to use this? Start with that.
This page.
Yes, sir.
and administration and operation of the department.
Yes, sir. So, couple of, the wages, I don't necessarily have a problem with, because I understand all you done there, Susan, y'all just assume 3% worst case scenario.
Right.
So I'll step down to the expense operational. Is there going to be, because I looked at the line item representing page, travel, food, and lodging, and training. And is there something coming up that we don't, that's more than normal? Because, here it is, yeah. That's on page 3. Page 3, over here, I'm showing, training at $34.75. But over here, when you look at the previous years, it's really never exceeded 1,400, so that's the reason I'm asking. I do see all the staff training coming up here, but talk about that just a
Yeah,
minute.
so, a lot of that is conference, and with conference, so we have been able to receive scholarships every year to cover costs for conference. So this would be without having those scholarships.
You gotta
That's what
pursue
we
those,
did last year too. We upped it in case they didn't get the scholarship.
so you gotta pursue the scholarships just like you normally would.
Yes,
In the
That's correct.
event that you didn't get them.
then this would be, yes.
When is those conferences held?
They're in GRPAs in November.
Okay, that's the reason the
That's,
cost right
and
now
the
is so
cost right
low.
now is so low. The only thing that's really in that current cost, is our housing. Like our registration and stuff hasn't been paid yet, the food, all of that stuff, is not in there yet. This year, we lucked out conferences in Columbus, and we lucked out, we were able to, get a house instead of spending money on a hotel room. So we're saving a lot of money by doing a house that, can house all of our staff instead of just individual hotel rooms. And we're
Like an
2
Airbnb.
blocks. Yes, it's an Airbnb.
Gotcha.
So,
So I see Andrew's CPSI training 575.
yes.
This is something that we do every year.
So, no, so Andrew has never received his CPSI. So CPSI is Certified Playground Safety Inspector.
Okay.
He has never taken that course. It is our intention we originally thought we were going to be able to fit it in this year, but the timing of when it occurs is during his season, so it doesn't work. So we want to make sure that he gets that for next year.
And then the 2 full-time employees to CYSA training.
So that is for our 2, well, it would be for Jeremy and for Chandler, those as a certified youth sports administrator.
Okay. And then the conference 225 at 6 employees. Who all planned? I mean, that's a lot of employees going.
So it's just the office staff. And then either Andrew, usually we take either Andrew and then one other maintenance guy for exhibit hall. So.
Okay. And then CPR training 300 on site by EMS. They charge us to train at 3?
No, so they charge us for getting the cards. And so this year we did not get the cards. And then after the fact, we had a lot of staff who needed their cards for other trainings and everything. So that's something that we put in, that we were going to get cards for this year. Now that's a cost that we can put back towards our staff, saying that, they would cover that cost of the purchase of the card. But otherwise, EMS does not charge us to do CPR.
All right, and then the leadership conference.
That's another, it's 2 days, it's training, it's in February.
And what's it for?
So it's a leadership conference training.
What does it have to do with Red Cross?
So it's more administrative. They have lots of, it's all about leadership. I mean, how to manage your staff, other programs, everything like that. There's scholarships for that.
Gotcha.
So.
All right. So All right, so moving on to the next line that I have questions on is the travel, training, and lodging, and I guess that's because there's so many different conferences, because, obviously Andrew's going to his, and then 2 employees is going to the other.
Yes, so it's essentially the hotel cost in there, and then the food that we would have to.
That's, we know this is not set in stone quite yet. I really need to look, and this is only my opinion, and from 2020 to 2024 present, and both of those line items, this it's almost tripled. So I need to figure out what we're doing there. Either we didn't take a whole bunch of training before, and this is all new, or
So are you looking at the travel, or are you only looking at the
looking at
training?
both line items.
So with the travel, so in conferences in Athens, which it was last year, then we don't have hotel costs, we don't have all of those expenses associated with that. Education and training, we are now providing our staff with the training instead of just show up to work every day. So they're actually going and participating in these workshops and learning more about what programs we can incorporate and how to be, leaders and supervisors. So it's betterment for our staff.
All right. Moving on down to my next question. So, do y'all have, for the recreation grounds, R&M recreation grounds, do y'all have a list yet of what that dollar figure consists of, the $35,000?
So the majority of that is True Green. So this year we have True Green in the past. So True Green comes and does all of our lawn service, all of our spraying of pesticides, fertilizers, all of that stuff. We went with True Green because after COVID, it was really hard for us to obtain those items. It also is taking away from our guys their normal everyday routine. So True Green is in that. We are going to be looking for re-quoting out for other vendors for this service. This year we have a lot of issues with True Green. Just our agreement just hasn't matched up. So I actually have a meeting with them on Thursday to sit down and go through all of our invoices and everything because numbers just aren't adding up. What they've quoted us for things they haven't done, and then when we do have them do it, it's now a different number. So, so we have a meeting with them. So hopefully we can get that number down a little bit more. But otherwise, recreation grounds is everything else on the property. Any of the pavilions, basketball courts, tennis courts, all of that structure, those structure items.
All right. Well, I appreciate you following up with that. I want to hear how that goes, that meeting. If I need to attend, let me know. The principal lease on the turf. Explain this turf tank thing, because I'm not understanding the turf tank.
So our turf tank is our painter that we use to paint all of our turf.
Okay, all right. That makes more sense. Okay.
It's different when you're looking at it because used to it was shown in equipment rental.
Yeah.
But when we finished the audit in '23, because of the new laws for the leases, now has to be shown, it's broken down as a lease, a capital lease, and not just equipment rental. So I know I flipped her a little too. But that's how it is now recorded in the book.
Okay.
That's how they'll track it.
That makes sense.
The amount didn't change, it's $10,000 every year, that stays the same, it's just broken out between principal and interest now.
Is there anything particular you're seeing to anticipate that much increase in electricity?
Electricity, that was, so this year was 50, we're already at 37, a little over 37 for the year. We've had a lot more games and activities going on. Also, the increase is going to be, the old gym power, the air conditioning with that, and running it during the summer.
I think that the other thing was, is we tried to factor in Georgia Power's 27% increase in the past.
We're averaging about $5,000 a month
Is that number not being increased?
between Georgia Power and Jack.
In 2023, we actually spent 58,000.
Yeah.
So you're gonna take 58 and basically, it's actually gonna be higher than 60, because if there was a 27% increase, it's gonna be 58 plus.
Well, I guess you're gonna have those field lights that we had swapped out, upgraded, that's gonna help offset that.
That helps some, yes. The
We have-
LEDs, you're talking about just for the night lights, so.
Those
Yeah.
are just the security lights, so those aren't actually the field lights, so the field lights would still run as normal.
It sounds like you may get a little low on that one.
It may be a little low, we'll have to,
The four would be 15,000, that's 73,000.
very possible.
We may be. That's one of those things that's really hard to know, but again, we were trying to think ahead with the new gym, with having the air going now, which is wonderful.
I mean, the number of people that are served, how much is it in the, or do you anticipate? I'm just curious, if I were to take and look at your budget and divide it by the number of people served, and I see, what would I see? Is it, are we picking up people every year?
We are picking up people every year. We've actually already picked up, even if our fall and winter numbers, had they stayed the same, we picked up about 60 kids in spring already. Added, yes, sir. And fall numbers from last fall to this fall, we picked up roughly 30 kids already. So we're looking at adding, if that trend kind of continues into basketball. And that's just for athletics. That's not including dance, pound, yoga, non-traditional. Our events that we have is not including any of that.
I can forward that to you all. She sent it to me right before we got here. Christina actually has a copy right there, but it shows the programs and how many kids we serve. I want to say last year we done 1,813 kids. This year we're at 1,610, and we're missing the 290 from the winter side.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so last year we had 1,819 just for athletics, which was a 13% increase from the year before. And this year, if we have another 290 roughly for winter for just basketball and futsal, we're going to be projected at about a 4% increase from last year in terms of our participation.
All right. What are we doing, and I know you and I had this conversation before, what are we doing to not the 2,000 kids we serve, but the 4,800, I shouldn't say children, of kids.
The ones we could serve?
The ones we could serve, you know?
Yes.
And also, and I'd like for this next year, whoever's at the table here, I'd like to, as part of this conversation, to see an increase in youth that's involved in the rec department. But I'd also like to see an increase in adult activities.
We are working on that. We do have some adult sports that we're intending to do and get that participation up for the adults. Our biggest problem, which if you go out to the rec departments anywhere, any of our parks, our biggest problem is space and not having those fields. Yes, those field space. We had 18 T-ball teams in the spring. We would have loved to take more, but unfortunately, we have 2 fields plus the 6 makeshift ones that we have at Mize. That's all. We have 12 teams for this fall, just for T-ball, so that's 3 to 6 year olds, for this fall. And we have probably another entire team, so another 10 kids on the wait list, because we just don't have the field space, trying to fit everything in. Because in the fall, we also tend to have more soccer, so then we lose that field.
Does your information gathering allow you to see how many of these are duplicates?
I can. That would require me. I would have to pull every registration that we have.
I mentioned that just for you to be thinking about that. So,
yeah.
So 1,900 served, that's 1,900 at a participation level, but this one they've done softball.
Yes. So essentially, I would say going from spring to fall, probably about 75% of our kids who play in the spring also play with us in the fall. If they don't play with us, they're usually doing NCYA football, cheerleading, or playing a club sport, something like that. But I would say probably about 75% of them always come back for the fall.
Something that normally is not thought about, and even I didn't think about this until just recently, the threshold of middle school.
Mm-hmm.
All your teams that's playing up to the age of 12, football, cross country, a lot of these things that we offer, that's when the school system starts offering those. So we're really dictating a lot of our sports playing to mainly elementary school kids, because my son, for instance, he'll be running now for the middle school or playing soccer for the middle school, where his whole life he's been at Red Point.
Right.
So as those numbers grow,
Mm-hmm.
those numbers are from new kids primarily coming in, because the other kids is washing into the school system sports.
Mm-hmm.
Their basketball a lot of times is the same time your basketball is. Their volleyball is a lot of times the same time your volleyball is. So those kids is going up. So, but the numbers are still increasing, so it means we're getting this many more kids into the county. But
Is there very much interaction between the program that we have and the middle school program? I know that in sixth grade they don't participate in middle school activities, but have any of the middle school coaches reached out to you guys saying, this is what we'd like to see for the kids coming in?
So they have not reached out. However, I had a meeting with Chris Smith and during the summer to talk about that relationship between not only the middle school, but also, which he doesn't necessarily dictate the middle school, but the high school coaches and us, trying to do, coach clinics and everything. And a lot of times in the past, the coaches for the high school teams have really, instead of pushing kids to the rec department, have pushed kids to go play travel ball, or, kind of that whole thought process of travel ball. But players may not necessarily be ready for that level. So he wants to push more of the kids who don't make the school teams and whatnot back to the rec department, and go back to using the rec department as that feeder system. Jeremy Waller is the AD at the middle school, and I have, as far as like facility use and all of us working together, everything's been really good. But the only coach that we necessarily have a relationship with there is the volleyball coach. And then Coach Bird, they borrow our equipment for their basketball programs, for their camps for the younger kids. But as far as them, us trying to work together or something, we don't have a relationship with those coaches.
I guess I would encourage you to do that, because travel ball is all about daddy coaching, and once kids go the travel ball route, they never come back to county sports.
Mm-hmm.
And for Madison County, in any of our business, because we're in a different lane over here where we're at. But to win states championships, you gotta start them when they're young and keep them till they
Right.
graduate.
Right.
And I would encourage you, if you don't hear from them, make sure they hear from you, okay?
Okay.
All right, gentlemen, do y'all have any questions on the first copy for the administrative? If not, I'll move over to the programming side. The very top line on programming, obviously, is day camp. Now, day camp, we don't have a history of, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, wasn't broken out separately, it
Yeah.
makes it hard to track.
So,
And the other difference is, in the past, when it started, you guys had grants,
And we do not have.
and now we do
grades.
not.
gotcha.
At least at this time. There's no anticipation.
There is, I don't know how much, Susan and Shelley, how much y'all have trimmed out of this budget from where y'all started from the first submittal, because, I mean, I knew there was a lot in it. I know y'all trimmed it a lot. I just don't know how much. My personal feeling is, I still think I'm over in this budget. Not drastically from where y'all started. It's much better, but I'm gonna start with this, with the day camp. So, running numbers on day camp. And there's multiple ways to fix this, and it's not just cutting dollars. I want you to understand that. Some of it is our pay to participate, I guess you could say, in day camp. I do think that needs to be addressed. And I have some ideas that I'd like for the board to chime in at any point in time, whether it be now or even later down the road before we adopt this budget. So while the concept of the day camp is great, the concept has been a little bit distorted as far as we offer a gold standard for a very, very low price. And the number that I have in my head is $125 a week.
Less than what I have.
It is, and I'll tell you why. But now there comes some offsets with that. So if you go to, if my son or daughter goes to the school, takes them on a field trip, you have to pay for that on that field trip. The school don't take you for free. They furnish the travel and they furnish the chaperones. But if we go to the aquarium, it's $20.
Mm-hmm.
You have to send $20 with your kid. I don't want our day camp to become a budget-friendly childcare service.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where we're at. So by increasing the fees to $125 a week, I did reach out to the daycares today. We are in Region 2 of daycares, and daycares are now in our county $155. It's recommended by the state. Daycares are $160, but they furnish food. I don't know if our day camp furnishes food. If we do not, the recommendation from the daycare owners was $125 is a fair price, because it does not hurt your daycares. It still offers an experience, because that's what we're trying to promote. Like Camp Kiwanis is an experience of the wilderness and blah, blah, blah. We're doing the same thing in a rec atmosphere. But between the cost of the potential increase in signups, but not to overexpose ourselves on trips, I think we will probably look at maybe a trip per week. How many trips do y'all make now per week?
2.
2 trips per week, and what does that look like? Tell me what that looks like.
So one day it's typically they go to the movies and they go to the pool on the same day, and then the next day they will go somewhere else. North Georgia, or University of North Georgia, to one of their movie showcase things that they do, their experiences. They may go to the Botanical Gardens, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, that kind of thing.
Botanical Gardens, stuff like that's low in, I mean, that's something that don't cost a lot. Mercedes-Benz does, right? I'm thinking the commute, I'm thinking the bus drivers, I'm thinking the fuel, I'm thinking the accountability, all that kind of stuff. I think we can offer those same type of experiences in a rec setting,
So,
maybe cheaper.
I know you're thinking, so our camp, the grants and stuff that we've been doing the last 3 years, they're STEM related. So those trips and those items have to be, or had to be, you know, educational.
Okay.
So that's kind of what we have planned to continue doing is educational, still maintaining that throughout the summer. So it turns camp into, it's a specialty thing. It's not just a daycare kind of thing. So that's where those trips have.
Well, the only reason I ask that is we have to keep it within a spectrum of finance that's affordable. And right now, we can't do that. Now, I do think taking a look at which trips we choose financially makes the most sense, but yet still gets the goal accomplished. Increasing the sign-up fees. I do know, before I even go to the next one, I do know this board wants to serve as many kids as we possibly can throughout the summer with, I don't know how many kids in that age range that would come to day camp, but I would suspect there's probably 2,000 or 3,000 kids that would like to try to get into it. So I know last year the board had no problem extending the financial coverage to exceed the 40. You have 40 max in a week. I would say the very minimum, if it's a 6 weeks period, we need to serve 120 kids, even if it's a 2-week camp or a 1-week camp and serve 320 kids. I know it's a lot of work to screen all those. I know maybe the last week you may not fill up. I don't know. But the idea is not for somebody to utilize our camp from week 1 to week 6 and book up the whole slot. I know it's hard. Don't get me wrong. I understand
Right.
trying to flush that out would be very complicated.
So with what we presented, the $45,000 revenue from the sign-ups, that is based on 240 participants. So that's setting it, that's 40 kids, allowing them to sign up for 2 weeks at a time. And then plus there's a $25 application fee that goes on that as well. So that is how that $4,500. But I had our fees at $175 a participant based on the trips and what we're having to pay cost recovery wise, you know, overall for about $216 a child from what we spent average for this year. Again, most of that is our staffing. You know, you look at the staff and right now, right from the start, only requires us to do like 1 per 8. But by our staff, we essentially have, we have 1 counselor for every 3 or 4 kids.
3.2.
Yeah, right now.
So, yeah, this is where I'm trying to paint a picture, I guess you could say, and I may be going the wrong way to do it, but with the trips reanalyzed or reevaluated, the cost being $125 and reevaluating our staff, we can make this program more successful, financially reasonable, but yet still be able to accomplish the goal in serving that many kids, 240 kids. So, I agree. How many?
So what are your fees right now?
Our fees right now are $100 per participant.
Just a simple math. You took the overage there, the projection, divided by 240, that's $63 a head above what your revenue is.
Yeah. So in a classroom setting, you normally have a teacher and a paraprofessional.
In elementary school.
In elementary school. The majority of your kids are elementary up to sixth grade.
Yes, they're 6 to 12.
And Madison County Schools serve 17 kids per class, is that right? Well, yeah, not all, I'm sorry. That is Bill.
Sure.
Yeah, all right, so my point being.
Well, we got at least 20 and then by sometimes up to 21.
Really? So, well, I looked at some of the other schools and they, yeah, we don't push it that far. I mean, they don't push it that far. But I know there's some, seating availability issues. So my question is, not my question, my statement is, the cost on our wages is what's killing us more than anything. And, with that being said, I do feel like that, if we go to one counselor for, what was our number? I thought I had it.
So either 1 to 6, we did 1 to 6, a 1 to 6 ratio.
A 1 to 6 ratio is what I wrote down. You're automatically not losing money anymore. Now, the hours of operation, I know y'all have a drop-off period, I think it's 7:30?
7:30 to 5:30.
To 5:30. So you're already in overtime unless you've got part-time people coming in late or part-time people
So
leaving early.
we split it into 2 shifts. We have morning and then afternoon.
Okay, cool. So if we can narrow that, you got 40 kids right now. I've seen the list of part-time people that was helping y'all.
How many counselors do you have with you?
Okay, we have 3 groups.
You said 1 for 8.
Yeah.
So they could have one for,
That's-
but they have one.
No, we have
We have 1 for 3, so there
1
you
for
go.
3.
Okay, one for 8 was the target.
That's
One for
what,
3
that's what's required by the state, is 1 for 8.
1 for 8.
And I'm thinking 1 for 6 is reasonable, because that automatically cuts your salary in half. So instead of paying $43,000, you end up paying like, $21,500.
Yeah, I think I read it with some overtime numbers, and it was, right, 26,000.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize you did like a swing shift.
Yeah,
It's longer than 8 hours. They drop off at 8:30 and they pick up, is it 5:30 or 6 o'clock?
5:30.
So it's a little bit longer.
I would assume, for conversation's sake, though, that you've got a group of kids, the director of that particular group would be there from start to finish. Would that be safe to say?
Yes.
And then you split the staff up in so you will have some overtime.
Yeah.
You know.
So we have, our part-time, office person, Abigail, is specifically for programs. So she, when Holly was there from 9 to 5, and Abigail would be there in the morning, and then would leave, or vice versa. So one or the other, everybody was here.
So my thought process here is if you'll rerun the numbers at, one part-timer for every 6 kids, I think you'll see the budget clean up some. Rerun the numbers at 125, for sign-up, trying to do the math on 240, and go back and look at your list of trips that can cut it down. But that $15,000 upside down mark has to at least come to 0. And I think you just done it in your staffing alone. I think you got it. I think you're back in the black
Okay.
with just the staffing.
So for field trip days, we had 14 staff. And then other days, we have between 12 and 13, depending, because we have someone who's in charge of strictly the activities. Then you have counselors in charge of each of their groups. And then that offsets each day, so, with the shifts. So 14 for a field trip day.
That may have to change. I don't know. I don't know what the numbers look like, but whatever one for every 8 is. However that looks. I don't know how it's gonna look, because I'm not doing the math in my head right now.
Also, keep in mind that this is during the summer. So we have very limited indoor space. So our kids spend,
Well, yeah, but this year it's gonna be a little bit
75%
different, so we're gonna have a gymnasium now that's fully air conditioned now.
are we gonna have transportation?
From there to here,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we can figure that out. We
Because
need,
that's another thing that we run into with senior center buses being available. And they only can hold, 12 kids.
Sure.
So you have to also have your counselors and everything, so being able to transport and have availability for those. Because all our field trips, we take the school buses. So
and then we gotta pay for those.
we pay for the driver, and then we put fuel back in them, just like we do with the senior center buses when we use those.
Well, maybe we need to, and it would not be a hard thing for me to acquire a rec department bus.
It would save us a lot of money if we had a bus for ourselves, and then
They
we
offer them to us
hired,
every year.
and then we hired our own in-house bus driver who had a CDL, so, it would save us a lot of money than what we are paying right now to the school system.
You probably get one of the school
Yeah, the school
bus drivers that go
Yeah,
come and do it.
summer.
So, exactly, that's what I'm talking about, so,
What do you pay currently?
so
Roughly,
for
a day trip.
a bus driver, usually with everything, it's between, depending on where we go, but it's $120, $160, depending on where we go. The travel time, like how long is that trip?
Gotcha.
That's what you're just paying the driver?
Yes.
Yes.
$180 a day?
120 to 160.
And that's through the Board of Education.
Through the Board of Education.
We pay.
You're paying their gross,
I've got
and you're
a
paying their
CDL.
taxes.
Right, we have to.
Let's come down to vacations first, Frank.
Yeah, so again, if we had somebody that was in-house, then that would be different, whereas we would have that, base hourly rate, as an employee.
You think if you missed something over here, you could have been doing that.
No, well, because the camp is new to the rec department. That's why we really had never thought about potentially getting a bus. The school calls every year and says, hey, we're getting rid of 3 or 4 buses. Y'all need one? And we're always like, no, we didn't have a use for it, but now we do.
Right.
So I'm sure we can work that out.
Well, if we look at it, the bus could be utilized for when we travel to other places for sports activities and things like that. So you may have to develop some type of pool of drivers for when somebody's available, but that's a scheduling issue.
But there's a lot of things that, if we had a bus, there's a lot of things that we could do, in terms of other programming and
You got a
not
Tahoe,
just.
you need a wagon? He got a wagon.
Well, let me ask, because this might drive, when they call, would one of the more compact buses, would that be adequate rather than the?
How many children do you transport daily?
If you take.
So for day camp, we would need a school bus. Otherwise, we would have to make sure that every.
That's 48.
Well, if she's running a 14 to 15 adult staff shift, that's 40 kids, that's 55 there,
That's
you almost got a full
bus.
bus full.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we're not gonna have
School
that.
bus does what, 70 some odd?
You got 2 people for every 10 kids.
Is that doable?
still,
It's
I mean,
cutting your staff in half.
you're still-
cutting your staff in half.
doing that, it's gonna be extremely difficult, but,
If we want to increase the number of kids, we're talking about wanting to have 80 kids a week?
No, it's still 40 kids.
you still
It's
keep,
only gonna be
still
40
keeping
kids.
it 40.
It's just gonna be this 40 and then that 40.
We're talking about
Cutting
taking
staff.
it from 1 adult for every 3 kids to 1 adult every 6 kids.
Okay, so not increasing the number of kids that go to camp?
No,
You will
Well-
overall, because they won't be able to sign up for 6 consecutive weekends,
Right.
same kid.
the individuals that number will increase, but per week it would still be a 40.
Okay, so we're still saying we're only wanting to do 40 kids a week?
Just think about your staffing numbers, keep in mind too, that we need to keep in mind. These are not necessarily adults with the kids, they're probably 15,
Yeah.
16-year-old.
Yes.
So I wouldn't be targeting that 8.
Yeah, all of our staff are, or at least we have one, I think that worked this summer, that was 16, but everybody else is over the age of 18.
Probably.
Most everybody I met during drop-off line was UGA's students. who were-
Yeah, we had a good portion of those who only worked for us during the summer, for counseling.
All right, so we're gonna work on those couple numbers and relook at those. Something changed in the, program, supplies, contract labor, wages, part-time seasonal, I wanna say, I gotta go back and find my notes. Which page?
That one category there, what does all that represent?
The, program sign up, the instructional stuff one, just making sure.
About the middle of the page, the one that's showing the big deficit, $150,000.
That's athletic.
Yeah.
So tell me, what is that?
That's just our youth
All
sport.
That's your baseball, your softball.
Baseball, softball, soccer, t-ball, volleyball, cross
So
country.
this is above and beyond what fees cover, ends up being $151,000.
When you factor in,
That's what I'm-
when you factor in your part-time seasonal
Yes.
staff. Yes, sir.
And that's including when, I know y'all talked about increasing registration fees for next year.
Yeah.
That's not a this year number, that's taking registration from, 85 to 110?
So currently, registration right now for 6 and under is $70, and 8 and up is $85. So this would be taking 6U and under and going up to $80, and 8U and up going up to $110.
And still is
It still
$151,000.
is. When you, and the biggest thing is when you include our part-time seasonal staff, for that. That's supervisors, that's your scorekeepers, practices, all of that, in there.
Where do our user fees fall in comparison to
Other parts.
Everybody around us, so, good question, because I'm trying to figure that out of how Oglethorpe keeps their fees so low.
They get to do whatever they want to do down there, and they don't use staff, they just use
So,
the ropes in the crack.
so everybody around us who we play and relate to, have gone to $110, except for Franklin County. I don't know if they're planning to go up next year. As of right now, they're still at the $75, for most of their programs. Again, they don't do baseball or softball or anything like that. That's association run, as well as their t-ball and everything. So, their staff is also a lot smaller than ours.
What is the client count compared to ours?
That I do not know.
That would be some real good information to get from somebody,
Okay. I do know, just from previous numbers, like I said, I don't necessarily have Franklin County because of the associations, that do their programming and everything, but, the other agencies who operate, all of their activities. So our numbers are comparable to the city of Jefferson. Now, as far as Commerce, we are at least double, sometimes triple, depending on what the sport is, from the city of Commerce. Jackson County, we're never going to meet their same number of kids, because their county's just bigger than ours.
Do you know what that ratio, are we running like a 30 or 40% of their number?
This year, when I talked to Jefferson, so like, at the end of last year, so if you look at, 18-19 is where we had as far as our youth last year, that is where Jefferson was the year before. So they've
Well, I was looking at their population compared to ours, they're 3 times larger than us, so if they were gonna run at 18, 19, a program at the capacity that we run, they should be running 5,500 kids a year.
So,
If they were gonna operate to our capacity, serve the same number of percentage of kids according to their population is what they should run.
They have multiple departments there, don't they have Jefferson, they have Commerce, and they have Jackson
No,
County.
this is just the counties.
the number that I have is just Jefferson. I don't know what the county is, as far as what they serve, but I do know that they have a lot more than we do. Surprisingly though, their numbers are low, like ours this year, so, in the fall.
So on that, so the athletic officials is 80,000.
Yes.
And
So,
that's primarily the target that we've been hitting,
yes,
Right.
is 80,000 for officiating.
that's, you know, looking at where we are this year currently, we had a lot more games and everything, we had a lot more kids in the spring, we were able to play more in-house, so with those in-house games comes an added cost of those officials. If we split and do home and away, then that cost does go down. So, but we've just been lucky enough that we have been able to play in-house, so all of our community is very happy about that. With just fee-wise, we're not covering that. Our biggest expenses, aside from staff, our biggest expenses with athletics is officials and uniforms.
What is the athletic equipment? What do you have 28,000 athletic equipment? What do y'all buy each year?
We buy baseball, softball, soccer balls, volleyball, tees,
Y'all buy $28,000.
a lot of, those baseball, softball, t-balls, those are all expendable items. So once they get used, we can't reuse them unless it's just strictly for practice balls.
Wow.
Because they're,
So for 8 games, they're used for how, 8 period of time, 8 games?
yeah, so every game, starts with 3 brand new balls.
T-ball?
T-ball maybe not, but everybody, all the other sports do.
Yeah, like
Yes.
Little League stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
There are also, softballs are $58 a dozen. Baseballs are a little bit less than that.
They got how many?
So each team starts with a dozen baseballs every season. That is what they get to start for their practices and everything for the entire season. They get a dozen balls. And then each game, we start with 3 baseballs. And depending on how a ball gets hit, what's the damage on it, everything like that, potentially they could go through a half a dozen or more, depending on the game. It just depends on how it gets hit.
I can't imagine a T-ball ever getting hurt, just to be honest.
Well, T-ball, it's geared more towards the softballs and the actual baseballs, not the T-balls.
Is that a GRPA regulation?
Not for
No,
T-ball.
it's just
No, I'm not talking about I'm talking about baseball and softball.
it's just a standard
Okay.
kind of.
What is
thing.
that noise?
It's gotta be the air. No, I think that's the air.
Yeah.
The tornadoes.
Yeah, all right.
Well,
I would like to see.
We've got a window over.
And so when you actually,
Yeah, let's get
I just got a weather notice just to give me that school's gonna start raining.
And I may have, but I didn't ignore it.
Shirley, I would like, if it's acceptable to everybody else here, I'd like y'all to relook at this number
Fund
right
out,
here
get
where we're
ready.
at such a deficit. And if we can do, if I understood correctly, the date that the campers is $125 fee, is that what I heard, or what is it?
day
The
camp,
Summer campers,
currently it's $100.
100,
And the chairman is talking about going up to 125.
then if I might make a suggestion, because what we're saying is, basically for 5 days is $25 a day, where the kids in T-ball or softball or baseball or whatever, they've got 6 to 8 weeks,
About 12, yeah, between 8 and 12.
and they're gonna play twice a week, most of them are.
Yes, sir.
So I don't think the fees would be unreasonable for it to be, and I'm not saying they have to be comparable in service, that, you know, you've got 12 weeks, so yours is $250, but I don't think $125 a week spread out over 2.5 months is out of whack. And it would help significantly reduce that number right there. I mean,
Is this number after the increase to 150,692?
That's what you said.
Yeah,
So it's after the increase.
yeah.
It's all, I mean, again, that's all about the part-time, the seasonal staff in there. That's what, that's it.
See, the goal, in my mind, I know we're never gonna hit that 100% mark where user fees are offset. I know we'll never do that, but I don't think, again, in my mind, I don't think that user fees in the range of 50% or 60% of what the cost of the operating fee would be unreasonable. Because we've got so many more folks that will never use this, you know, and looking at it as a devil's advocate from the taxpayer's side, you know, and all of us here at the table hear the comments unrelentingly. Well, you know, I don't have kids in school. Why do I have to pay school tax? Well, I don't have kids at the rec department. Why do I have to pay? You know, and if we could say, well, you know, at the end of the day, you're not paying the whole bill.
Yeah.
Probably.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that, but here again, I don't think, a minimum of $100 fee, I don't think would be shocking. You know, if y'all could just do a quick number run on that sometime, and just let us see what impact that might have. That may not be huge, but it will chip away at this.
Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure I'm thinking the same thing. So, you're talking about for the younger kids having the same fee as the older kids, or are you?
Are they playing the same length of seasons?
Yes. The only difference is that the younger kids don't have umpires.
But they are using equipment that we provide.
Yes.
They're using fields that we provide and maintain. They're using lights that are on.
Yes.
Just like the older kids.
Yes.
And you
So
know,
everything's the same except for umpires.
Okay, so if I took you to McDonald's this afternoon, and we bought us a Happy Meal apiece, but I'm 70, so they're gonna charge me $8 for it, and you're 35, and they're gonna charge you $4 for it, do you think I'd be upset about that?
Yes.
That's where I'm going with
Okay.
this.
All right, just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page.
and to your point, Commissioner Adams, that's the reason I asked for the increases on the day camp. Because for me, day camp is not truly a part of the rec department, a sports program that we're trying to find something for our youth to do. It's more of a summer program.
More, yeah,
To-
helping community, because
Yeah.
daycare is
Yeah.
a real problem everywhere.
Yes, and obviously it's gonna be a bigger problem. So, on the athletic equipment, sorry, go ahead. On the athletic equipment, I really wanna see a breakdown on that. I wanna see how we can get that number down. Because I just think that if $28,000 worth of balls is expensive.
Balls, pitcher rubbers, bases, all of that stuff.
Yeah, there's no way we can be replacing all that every single year at that kind of cost. So there's got to be
Some of it
some kind of lifespan.
Is the rotation, is the biggest is the baseballs and everything. Baseball, I mean, those are the biggest. Our soccer balls, we use them for 2 seasons, depending on how they look, kind of thing. Volleyball, we usually get about 3 seasons out of those. Volleyballs are extremely expensive. If you get the good ones, they're $45 a piece, just for one single ball, so.
Oh, I'm not saying that things are cheap, don't
but
get me
yes.
wrong, I'm just trying to make things last a
Yes.
little further to where I can get that number down somewhere around 20.
In talking with that, if I can go ahead and skip to the uniform cost.
Well, I got a plan there too.
No, I have something, with that, so, our vendor, is, that we use is, Shuma Sports. All of our equipment and uniforms come from Champro, and I have been talking with them, because in our agreement, they have first opportunity to work towards, getting discounts and figuring out what we can do in terms of cost. So they have been in contact. I met our Champro rep, and they have worked out to where they're looking at about $2, like decreasing a fee that they can already start with for those uniforms. Across the board, all of our uniforms, with the exception of volleyball, are the same style. So that helps a lot in that percentage of dropping. Wish I had written down the percentage, but I didn't. So they're working on trying to get those costs down. In addition to that, they also have what they call they have a grant for hard items, which are the balls, any of the equipment, the bases, those type of items. Champro has a grant for those as well. So they're looking at trying to get us that information. Now, the first part of the discount, that is just at like Shuma's level, and then Champro, is the potential for Champro to maybe come back with an even bigger agreement of, well, they've spent so much money with us for however many, years we've been buying from them. Let's see what we can do if we can lock them into a certain rate or, percentage.
It's about $3,600, just on uniforms.
So
I've got a plan for that. And the uniform cost has just gone up. It's $54 per child based off the numbers that I ran earlier, divided by the $100,000. Just to suit up for the child. So if you're charging $70 to play, you got $54 in uniform.
For a shirt and a hat.
Yeah.
Right, not pants,
Yeah.
so shirt and a hat, so soccer gets a shirt and socks, volleyball gets a shirt and socks, baseball, softball, shirt and a hat.
We are 100% going to pick apart the uniforms this year. And I didn't say we're going to downgrade them. I'm saying we're going to, what I would like to say is uniform the uniforms. And there's a cost savings in that. I'll tell you what that is, because we have a spring sport and a fall sport that a lot of times is the same sport. If we order the colors being red and black or black and white or red and white, if you sign your kid up for fall after they bought the jersey in the spring, you get a reduced sign-up fee for using the same jersey. Does that make any sense? It's the same jersey, same volleyball?
Yes, but it's not gonna work on all sports.
So they got numbers on them. We never have to sit down and see who has what number.
Ain't no big deal.
Oh,
You sign,
it's-
no, it's not. Because come spring,
No,
you
it's
sign your kid up,
Not
and we
for the
issue you
parents.
number 10. And then come fall, you sign your kid up, and you say, okay, did you play in the spring? Yeah. What number was you? 10? Okay.
That-
Here's where, we don't need to get too hung up in the weeds here. I don't want to put myself in a position of running your program. When I look at this from a commissioner's standpoint, I see $100,000 for uniforms. So my statement to you is, we need some help.
So,
That-
go ahead.
That's a lot.
That should be completely recoverable, right?
Yeah, that's-
Because taking out of it, and we're not getting them back.
You know, we've been out of the rate card for a long time, T-shirts and hats. And I remember, it seemed like last year you made comments that parents want more. Okay, I can fix that. Here's what we're gonna supply. You want more? You and your team fix that. But anyway, we don't need to be, I don't want to be running your program.
Right.
I'm just telling you, if I'm looking at $150,000 more than what the fees are, I'm looking at $100,000 of it right there. I'm thinking, I'm probably gonna take it.
The problem with that's gonna be though, is when the parents go to Facebook, you say, did you see them raggedy T-shirts they got us? Oh, with them iron-on numbers. It looks like our county could do better. And what happens is we offer them an opportunity to do more, but you have to pay more, but only half the team can afford it. So it is gonna come back to us eventually.
So the color of the uniform, none of that costs us extra. So it is a flat fee of $23 for any of, with the exception of volleyball, and basketball, because they're reversible, for any of our jerseys for our kids. It's $23, no matter what they look like.
Okay.
Anything on them, volleyball is $36 because they're long sleeve, so it's different. So that's where that cost is. So with this number, looking, at this, you also, it's not just regular season, it's all-star season. So when we send teams to all-stars, if they have not been on the same team, which fortunately for basketball and volleyball, they all wear the exact same uniforms, so we don't have the issue with that. But with baseball, softball, t-ball, all that, not t-ball, excuse me, but soccer, each team is a different color. So then we have to reorder uniforms to send for that one team. So that's where some of that $100,000 cost also comes into.
So do they pay in All-Stars, if that happens, do they pay extra?
No.
No. We lose our tail in that. So,
You said it's $54 a kid for uniforms, but it's $23 for a jersey?
So he's dividing it, the $100,000 out by every kid. So, but you also, so that $100,000 is not just for regular season, it's also for all-star season.
So some children may be getting more than one,
Yeah,
But if it's $23 a jersey, and it's $54 a kid, I mean, that's 2 jerseys per kid is $46.
right. But you also have to think, so hats,
How much?
hats are buying in bulk, they're about a little less than $9 a piece. The headbands are roughly the same. And then socks are $4 a piece. We also provide the coaches with shirts to match. And they also get hats as well.
all right. Well, that's just something we're just, the only reason I'm bringing this up is these are items that I want to address between now and budget adoption.
A big one in this is, so, yeah.
Yeah, no, right?
Yeah,
Like
so,
we get enough.
basketball jerseys, basketball uniforms are $79.
How much?
$79 for basketball.
Per kid? Basketball,
They're reversible jerseys
And-
and reversible shorts,
tell me again what our user fee is.
$85.
Yes. Just consumed it all in the
Mhm.
uniform.
Yep.
I would
So,
carefully, before we come back again, I would really look at the user fees.
mhm.
I mean, I appreciate that the high number on the basketball team's gonna be 5-5. I know the reason for that. Because
Right.
I had a lady give me a real discount on jerseys one time, and they came in 5-6s, 5-9s, 6-1s. That don't work.
Yeah.
But proportionately, the user fee, if we're gonna decide it's gonna be 50%, then it needs to be that way, If a T-ball player's out there and all he needs is a T-shirt, then, okay, you can have the lower one. But if a basketball player's gotta have a $79 uniform, then the fees ought
Right,
to
absolutely.
reflect that.
And that's what we're running into, with that. So we are trying to figure out how to work those uniform,
Well,
items.
the other bottom line number here,
The fee.
that
Well, yeah, but
I'll help you with that, Shelley.
we're trying.
The other number here, the part-time seasonal help. I know you struggled last year trying to get enough help to make it through the year, but you did. Is this number showing a full staff, or is this number a reflection of what you went through in 2023 and 2024?
The part-time seasonal number is, it's based off of, we were, I would say up until about a couple weeks ago, we were pretty full with our staff, but everybody's going to college now. All of our good people that we have are leaving us. So these numbers were based off of being full
On the staff.
Gotcha.
and part-time,
Okay.
yes.
and I'm not gonna take too much, more of your time here, because we are gonna have to come back and revisit
Oh, yeah.
these couple topics.
That's why I wanted to make
The last one that I really want to touch on is, the concession stands. The concession stands is a good way for us to keep costs and sign-up costs low, to offset the cost of balls, offset the cost of, jerseys. But I know staffing those concession stands has been a challenge in the past. And all I'm gonna say is, I really recommend that we put our concession stands as a priority, the same priority as if we're scheduling the ball game. I mean, we have to, because the concession stand's the only place that's a true number. It's a pay participation to get some of your other money covered back. And I get that
It does. It does. It's bringing in an extra $10,000.
Exactly. But to be honest, we know our concession stands last year was, I would say, was open 35% of the time based off staffing. If we could get them open 75% of the time, that number could very well be $25,000 or $30,000. And I only say this.
Used to offset.
Yeah, and the only reason I say that is because my bottom line number that I've got in my head, that I've got wrote down before we ever got into this, by making just those few changes that we've talked about tonight, will almost be the target number that's here. And I'm not gonna give you that right now, because I'm not playing games, it's just because I know you're gonna work on trying to do the best you can. Please keep in mind, for the record, for the people at home that might be watching, we want to do everything possible for the rec department to serve our kids, to keep our youth something to do, keep them active, keep them out of trouble. But in these trying times of 2024 inflationary measures, I also have to worry about the people that is on fixed income. And so by rolling the mill rate back is one of those things. If we didn't touch the mill rate, no big deal. We can expand our rec department services. But I can't do it right now, so. Any other questions from this board pertaining to this particular line item document?
Just comment, like, this is exactly what I need.
That's great.
Exactly.
This piece of paper here shows a lot over here. Yeah, thank you. Frank?
Well, we're striving to get you there.
Yeah.
This year it was hard, because it was like trying to pull pieces to put it back together, because it didn't start at the very beginning of the year.
This
But
tells the
24 is
picture.
looking a whole lot better.
Next time, just send
I
it
think
to
this is
Well,
a tool,
I mean, it's a.
this is the kind of tool that you can use to manage your program.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know, and I'm gonna say again, thank you, because I know the struggles that all of this complication causes, and coming to Susan, and coming back to Susan, and Susan coming to me.
Oh, we
and
talked
people
about it throughout.
Christina chiming in left and right.
Like, when we
trying
call
to
the
get this
next day and
together.
be like, I just followed me all weekend, and I'm still thinking about this, like.
If there was a video in the hallway that could just watch during budget time, people would like, wow.
Yeah.
And then we
Yeah.
sit here and we still do this.
Mhm.
So, but thank you, I appreciate it. I know you probably felt uncomfortable because you were worried about how this was gonna go, but I think it is manageable, and I do think that we are in the closing straws. Get Dennis his request, I'd like to see those breakouts. I'm the same way, I like seeing them. Terry just confirmed he likes seeing that too, just a touch more detail. Frank, anything you'd like to see? He just wants to be a bus driver.
I heard
If we
something
keep
about
them on
that, they call him.
On your, revenues, return on HCDs, are you anticipating 2,000? Is that, like travel ball tournament?
No, so that is our, GRPA tournaments that we host. So, this year we hosted state softball. That's the only one that we're hosting this year. So our revenue numbers, for that, is a little bit higher than the 2,000. I think it's about 7,000, I think is what I have. Yeah, roughly, for this year. But, that number is only at 2,000 because next year we have not put in to host any tournaments. Just as of right now, I mean, we've hosted softball every year. Last year, we hosted volleyball, but only thanks to Jackson County for letting us use their facility, so we had that extra income coming in. But without having a facility that we can designate for like volleyball tournaments and basketball tournaments, it's really hard. We've done soccer state the last 2 years, and it's the same weekend as our reindeer run. So staffing wise, it's been kind of crazy. So we decided to not host that this year. And we haven't talked about doing soccer next year. We have put in to discuss maybe moving that soccer tournament date from December to November because it's about a month and a half after the season actually ends. So depending on how that goes, may change our mind in terms of putting into host. But our fields need a little break from their constant use. So that's why we haven't put into host anything at this time. So.
Do you happen to have a quick update on the Parks and Recs grant?
Land and water
Land and water
conservation,
conservation, yeah.
I have no update. I have nothing. I got an email yesterday from the DNR saying that we can put in the request information on our previous grants and stuff, but there was no update as to what this year had.
Well, the reason I ask, because I'm a little bit on pins and needles on that one due to the adult sports, the pickleball craze.
Yes.
I mean, we've got to, we need to land that money so we can fix those facilities.
Yeah, what we have done, and I need to double check, Alan, so with the cracks that were there, Alan and Andrew talked, and they were what we fill the cracks in the roads with. He said that we could use to fill the cracks of the pickleball courts and the basketball courts.
Yeah.
But again, that's just it's a temporary fix. We just need a new facility essentially for that. So, kind of where we are.
All right.
Good thought, and it's not really enough, but as you think about potential new projects like that, who knows where pickleball will be? We just realize sometimes these things are a little fatty.
Yes.
There's a wall ball court down there, and I haven't seen anybody use that in a decade.
Most people who
That's
do
all
go
good.
down there, they use their soccer balls and stuff in there and hit.
But again, just of course,
But
as
yes,
you think about new facilities, just realize that sometimes these things kind of come and go.
Yes.
Maybe think about, so if it ceases to be pickleball 2 years from now, what could it be?
Right, and that's kind of the thought process of been doing a new facility is that if we put in, tennis courts or pickleball courts, that all of that is removable. So it essentially would turn the facility into a multi-purpose, open space that could be done or used for anything. Because right now you can't. The tennis poles are stuck in the ground. You can't move them. You can't do anything with them. So that's kind of multi-purpose. And a lot of that still goes along the lines with whatever the master plan comes back with for leisure services.
That'll be wrapping up in October.
October 28th is when they're supposed to present to y'all.
All right. With that being said, if there's nothing else, I'll call this motion adjourned.
Susan, Christine, Michelle, thank you. Good.
Y'all worked hard. A lot of long hours, a lot of stress.
Thank y'all for putting up with all through this process.
Yeah.
Oh, he hadn't been bad at all.
Yeah.
Y'all take care of him, makes it easy.
Shelley and I stress our own selves out just trying to.
Yeah, just make sure.
I wouldn't,
I've had a lot of.
there's a lot of jobs in this building I wouldn't have, but staring at a computer screen, doing numbers all day long, being an accountant would be mind-numbing for me personally. But every time I walk by Susan's door, I don't care what hour of the day it is, I'm just in that screen. And I'm like, how do you do that all day?
Yeah.
At least an accountant.
But I
come in and sit down and tell the problem.
My brain hurts